caught up with a friend, which is Tony, who had complementary skill sets to what I was bringing to the table. And for me, that just made it seem like it was the right time to make the plunge. And then also the most important thing as well, when I talk about these, is that you also need to have a plan B, because especially if if you've been in full-time employment, you're so used to having that paycheck.
Internet. My internet connection is unstable.
The last thing I'll say is that I personally don't think everyone is called out to be an entrepreneur. I know the Nigerian in us thinks that, everybody's an oga, we want to do things ourselves and da da da. But honestly, some people are just better off in an institutionalized, structured environment. So you have to think about that yourself, that are you called out to be? Because being an entrepreneur means no 2 days are the same. It means you need to do a lot of things that you might not be comfortable with. So I'm not comfortable with sales and stuff, but I do sales. I go out, I'm doing tech now, stuff that I'm not too comfortable with. And that's what entrepreneurship means. So making the plunge for me personally means the right opportunity coming along, you having the skill set to take advantage of that opportunity, having a plan B, whether it's knowing that you can always go back into employment if things don't work, or pivoting on your idea because your first idea might not necessarily work. And then also just really knowing yourself. Are you called out to be an entrepreneur or not? I think those are the sort of things that I think about when I advise people on, how and when to make the from employment to entrepreneurship.
I'll just add to what I said. For me, like maybe 80% of everything is said, but there's 20% where I just knew, and that was when I started thinking about money. So I went through a process of, like you said, you guarantee a paycheck end of the month. Then you're doing something on the side to make money. That's great. So everyone is doing that most of the time. But the moment you think, this paycheck, if it goes away and I don't guarantee any return, would I be able to survive? And survive doesn't mean that you continue living your normal life, whatever that is. It means that you have to make sacrifices. So for me, it's always like I knew I have to do something myself. I didn't know when, but when it came to 2016, it was the time that I stopped thinking about money in my bank, which is like, okay, if I don't have money today or tomorrow, can I still go around and survive? And I won't say just do it for the sake of it, but I think you have to plan because we all have liabilities, we all have things that we need to do on a daily basis. So rather than just doing it and jumping into it, that would be a massive mistake. So I would say you have to plan properly. However, there's no amount of plannings that will even get you to the point that you'll be so excited and you say, oh, then one, you're making money. So, but the moment that money goes away, it means that I'm ready to sacrifice. That for me was one of the key moments that I knew that I have to do this for real. The second thing that I would say is before you do anything, again, I think Ola alluded to this as well, which is you need to look into yourself and think like realistically, what are the skill sets that you have? And I want to say something that you've read, like what are the experiences that you've gained over time? Because those experiences are actually going to come into fruition if you don't have it. Like we all can read a book, we can listen to TED Talk, but the idea of executing or implementing something, it goes a long way if you've already done it before. So what that means is if you're going to do something that you have interest in because you see as a gap or you see as an opportunity, like just think, what are the things I need to get from A to B to make this a real company? And if you're honest with yourself, you will see the gaps in your own knowledge or skills. And that's when you want to plug that with whether a co-founder or it could be a partnership with a big company that are already doing something similar. But you just have to know what that gaps is so that from day one, you kind of plug in your own gaps. Otherwise, you end up building something, excuse me, that is not 100% fulfilling what you wanted to do. So those for me will be like two key learnings and moments that you know that you need to do what you want to do. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to sort of wrap it up from our end, and then we'll open up to questions from everyone on the webinar. It's realistically think about yourself and your skill sets. Is the time right? Do you have what it takes? My personal learning over the past 3 odd years that I've been an entrepreneur and I left full-time employment is, and one of my mentors, when I mentioned that I wanted to start a company and quit banking, it was so funny the way he said it. So what he told me was that he said, what you're going to notice is that it's going to be very hard for your business, right? And if it's not hard in the first 1 year, then you're probably doing something wrong. And I just thought, why would you say something like that? Like, why would it be hard? Like, oh, I have a plan, I have an opportunity, I should just take advantage of it. And in hindsight, that's what happened, because there's so many things that come at you that you're probably not, if you've been working, all you need to do is to have a good CV and, have experience, and then you get the job. But with entrepreneurship, so much comes out every day that you need to build a sort of resilience to be able to handle it. And if you bear that in mind, I think, it really, really comes in play when things aren't going that well, because there's always, peaks and troughs with entrepreneurship, as opposed to where employment, maybe you have issues with your coworker or your boss or whatever, but it's not as bad as some bad days that we see as being entrepreneurs. So just think of that as well. So at this stage, we'll open up
before that. So one summary or one advice I would say, and I think you can testify to this, is like, it's so important to execute every second. Like if you decide to do something, even just do a deck, make sure you do that deck, because it's a learning process. Everything you do, you become better at it. So education for me is one of the key things that I think we both learn, where you're not good at something, you go and learn how to do it, but the art of actually doing it is so important. So even though it might not come to be useful in the end, but you've learned something, which means next time you want to do it, it will take you like a few seconds. So if there's any advice to give to any potential person that wants to do entrepreneurship, just anything you think you have to do to get to your next phase of your development, just do it. There's no point just saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Do it. It might not be useful in the end, but at least you've learned something and you know why it's not useful. And once you keep doing that, those become your skills and your experience. And when you decide to do something potentially big that will be really good in the end, you have those skills to tap into. So yeah, that would be my main advice.
So I think Anthony has a code, but sorry about that. So at this stage, we'll open up to questions. If anyone has, I think the house rules from Kayode is type the question in the chat box, and then we would respond by, verbally, responding to the question. So at this stage, if anyone has any questions, we're happy to answer.
With the Go Club. The Go Club. Yes, hi guys. Hello. Hello.
Ken?
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Osagi Alunge. Thank you so much for having this webinar. Very insightful. My question would be about timelines. So for people who are currently working but have a very great idea, want to start up something, what would you advise on timelines? I've heard, had discussions with people who quit their job immediately and then just plunge straight into it. Others kind of start and still work at where they are working, and they just have a feeling of, okay, I need to quit my job now to focus. But for you guys, what would you then advise in terms of structuring how you want your business to start versus you still working at at the workplace receiving a monthly check?
I'll try and answer this because I think it's relevant to my experience so far. I would say the timeline depends on your own risk appetite. Like a lot of people, like we all have a comfortable life that we love. And if the moment you live that comfortable life to do something that doesn't give you that return, trust me, you'll go back to that work and you'll do it so quickly. So what you want to make sure is that is it within your own risk appetite. So if you're the type that you will just hand in your resignation and you start, I would say great. However, for anything that you do in life, you have to make plans. You can't just plunge into something without actually knowing where you want to get to, exactly what is your product. So things like, what products are you trying to bring to the market? What industry? What are your target audience? What analysis have you done in terms of competitors? What is doing out there? Are you creating something disruptive, or is it literally just doing the same thing as everyone else is, but more efficiently? You have to have answered those questions before you do that anyway. So the idea of, I've got a great idea and now I'm going to execute it, trust me, there's other people that are doing exactly the same thing. You just have to spend time on Google and you'll find out. So assuming that person has done all of that, for me, it's now down to, like, one, your risk appetite, and the second one is, like, what exactly are your liabilities? So if you have mortgage to pay, or you have a rent to pay, or you are supporting siblings or wherever that depend on you, because those things that actually put pressure on you later on. If you can't afford to start paying your rent, that might mean that, okay, the plan is you leave your 2-bedroom house to maybe a room that you shared. So you reduce your cost. That way it can go a longer period in terms of, like, when you're not successful. So yeah, I think for me, it's like, on the product side, you need to know what exactly you're going to do when you quit that job. And you have to have done a lot of work before that, so you know for sure what you're going to be doing from day one. After that, you have to kind of look at your own personal financials, because it's super important. And doesn't mean that you have to be rich or anything, but you just need to know how you're going to manage yourself today for the next maybe 1 year. And I think for, like, any product or any startup, you should have your own, when is your exit, right? If you do this for 1 year without money, with you scraping around or living in someone's house or wherever, is that enough time for you to be comfortable in that, I don't know, that particular moment that you're okay with? Because if you're not, trust me, you get your CV out there too, and that will affect everything else. So you just have to look at your timeline yourself personally. How long can you go for without being success? If you can go for 5 years, great. If you can go for 0 year, then you know your own risk appetite.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, not much to add to that. Just really, just echo what Tony said. Sort of like, have a plan before you just take the plunge. But sometimes as well, the opportunity is so interesting and compelling, and you can literally start, taking advantage of the opportunity whilst you're still working, and then it grows. But honestly, I think, in my personal opinion, there's less of those sort of instances than when people actually quit and then they need to start and then things trail off from that. So we've got quite a few questions in the chat, but so we'll just answer. So the first is from Tosho Ajibade. So thanks for your wonderful advice. How did you go about raising funds? And the answer to that is, we were bootstrapping Verto for the first 12 to 18 months. So we didn't just go about raising funds for Verto from day one. So we used our own personal savings. So because we both had worked, for about a decade before starting Verto, we had a bit of cushion and we used that. So that's how we went. We went about fundraising after we had showed that we could do Verto. We had built a prototype. We had done beta testing. We started getting revenue from customers, and then we started raising funds. So we bootstrapped for about 18 months. So it's not like we quit our jobs and they just raised money.
Yeah, I think on top of that, when you say, how do you go about raising fund? Obviously, I'm not going to go through what every investor will tell everyone, but the idea is that you are selling something to someone. So you need to show evidence of what you've done. Like, if I just come to you and say, hey, give me 5,000 naira or whatever, you probably should ask what you want it for and what's your return. So simple things like that, you have to kind of be realistic. So no one's going to give you money unless they're your family and friends for the sake of it. So the process of raising fund, I think once you have a product and you know you're actually building a solution, there's so many processes out there. It depends on your own vertical, your network, who you know. There are a lot of VCs, angels, investors out there, family and friends as well. So I think you just have to look at within your own network to start with, who's out there that can connect you to the right person. And I would say that a lot of startups now, they have an idea, great ideas, and they just want someone to give them money. It's like you saying, hey, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to do whatever I want. Just pay me a lot of money. Like, you're not going to get a job like that. You have to be doing one thing that they know you're good at, and that's what they're paying you for. So what I'm saying, that if you already build a solution where you bootstrap it, it doesn't mean you're spending money on it. You spend your own time to build it. You've shown evidence that you're good at building that thing. and someone just have to believe in that, and usually you will get money. It's just that it might take time and it might be difficult, but you will get that money.
Okay, so the next question is from Kayode Oyewole. Was there a backup plan in case this didn't work out? So I'll answer that personally, and then Tony can answer his as well. So honestly, my own backup plan was my wife. You know, I had gotten married. We were, I think, about 18 months into the marriage. She has a stable, steady, stable job. So I thought, if the entrepreneurship thing doesn't work out, at least, because we're in the UK, we have mortgage and stuff. At least my wife has, she's earning enough to pay the mortgage. And also literally, she earned enough to take care of both of us if I didn't have to work. So honestly, that was my backup plan. And it's just a personal thing, but it just gave me the comfort to be able to take the plunge.
For me, unfortunately, there was no wife. So partly was me basically have some investment I've made in the past that I believe I can go back to and capitalize on if this didn't work out. But what actually happened was, I remember I said earlier that I had a prop tech startup that I was doing before Verto. And whilst I was doing prop tech startup and we were building Verto from the beginning, I was doing my MBA. So my backup was like out of all this training, because MBA for me was a project as well. Like I didn't do it just to get a degree. It was that out of this, I should come out of it with a company based on either an idea that I'm already working on or something that we'll find out through amazing people that I met through the MBA. So my backup was always going to be a startup. The question was it going to be Verto, or was it going to be the prop tech, or was it going to be something new that I didn't even know of? But at the same time, I wasn't trying to be like one third in every single thing. It was 100%. For me, it was 100% every single project. It was more of which one is it the right one to capitalize on? And yeah, so.
Okay. So I hope that answers the question. The next question from caller, I know, and it's almost the same, right? Where he says, this is caller, how does this advice change if you have a family with corresponding bills to pay? So very, very interesting question. So the reality is that I think, like we've said previously, like, if you have bills to pay and you have a family, then in a sense, you need to either reset your sort of budgets. And I mean, because everyone sort of like has, like Tony said, if you're living in a 2-bed flat and you know that you just have enough rent in your savings or whatever to cover one room, then, and you want to be an entrepreneur, maybe the wise thing would be to obviously move into that one room to save cost until the idea, obviously kicks off, and then you can afford to move back into a 2-bed. So I think it just, you need to reset your expectations and always be very, very mindful of that, because you can go off and be an entrepreneur and the idea might not work. We're all proud people. No one really likes depending on other people. So you have to be mindful of that. But at the same time, you can't go without at least taking advantage of the opportunity. And if you have to leave the paid employment, then just be thoughtful about how you go about it. So my answer to that is just, it really has to be, resetting your expectations and your budgets, right? Don't continue spending money like you're expecting it to be like you get a paycheck at the end of every month. So I don't know if you have anything.
No, I think like that's exactly what I would have said. I just have a good example. I think you actually witnessed this. So I moved out of a 2-bedroom flat to a 1-bed, thinking I'm saving money, to the point where I'm actually even renting a room whenever it's possible. So the idea is not just like, oh, we're saying it. We actually have gone through it. So it worked out for me, it might not work out for someone else. If you have to pay someone else's bill, again, it's setting the expectation for them that, okay, in the next 2 years, and for me, when I say expectation, it's been transparent. So because people don't really know what you don't have. And I think with a lot of we Nigerians, there's a lot of like, I don't know, what's the right word, where people have
optics.
Yeah, so if I'm only worth 10 naira, why am I saying I'm worth 200 naira? Because people ask me for more money. So it's basically saying, hey, here's my bank account today. Look at it. There's no me telling you a story I don't believe. This is what's going to happen for the next 12 months. This is what I can offer you. So they have expectation as well, so that you can meet that. So when you don't maybe pay the bills on time, or you can't pay 100%, they're not shouting at you or thinking you're a bad person. So I think that expectation management is quite important, which is yours and the people around you or whatever you're doing.
Okay. Bless you. The next question is from Deji Adegbite. Are there investment platforms you can advise an employee to invest in before going into full-time entrepreneurship? So yeah, I mean, I think the obvious answer to that is yes. But the question is, are you trying to invest to have a decent pile of savings so you can then go into entrepreneurship, or are you just investing anyways? Because everyone should be investing, at any point in time. So especially if you're an employee, you should always have, your money either in, fixed deposits, in stocks or in assets, property, businesses that you invest in with friends. So you should always be investing. That would be my answer to that. So there are various platforms, depends on your risk appetite. I think the good thing about being an employee is that you sort of know what your take home is at every month. So obviously the rule of thumb is take a certain amount of that away and save it every month. So there are a lot of tools out there. I think there's PiggyVest, which is obviously a ventures platform, portfolio company as well, that can help you with that. And there's Triva Greek, which is another ventures platform company where you can put your money in interesting farming projects, and they give very decent returns after 8-9 months, I believe. So there's so many platforms out there that you can use to invest whilst you're thinking of becoming an entrepreneur. The next question is from Damilare Adedoyin. Good afternoon, everyone. You both shared profound advice. My first question is, did you raise funds before quitting? If not, how did you handle burn rates before the first raise? So I think we've answered this already. We didn't raise funds before quitting. We basically used our own money. We handled burn rate by just being super lean. We were still working on the product itself.
No salary.
No salary. So we weren't sort of paying ourselves or anything. We're only doing the bare minimum. We had an office because it's a regulated product. You need to have an office. But everything else, we're literally just, what they call ramen profitability in Silicon Valley. So you don't spend what you don't have. And really, we had not raised funds before we quit.
I mean, there are a few things that we did that it wasn't necessarily like our skill sets, like compliance, for example. Ola never had experience in compliance, but we have to be regulated. So it means that you need to read up on like compliance regulations in the UK, the impact on what we're doing. Then you have to apply for license to go through that process as a one person without skill set and do it. That's dedication. So that's part of being lean. So we could have just find a consulting company in the UK, you pay them 20, 30K. At the end of it, they don't guarantee you that result. They might not even get you the license in the end, but they will take you through that process. So yeah, learn, it's not just about not paying yourself salary. It's actually like things that you can learn. If you're really good at it, you will learn, you pick it up, and that saves you money on you having to pay someone else. Yeah.
The next question is quite very good, very interesting one. So this is from Gabriel Olatunji. For a person with a family who co-found a startup, but for almost 12 months, the startup has taken up funds in forms of salaries, expenses, without either of the co-founders earning because the startup is not earning yet. Then there's news of a competitor launching with millions in seed round already. How do you navigate this? Quit, borrow to compete, and launch halfway.
Launch halfway.
Launch halfway?
I mean, if you have a product, if you have a product, like launching halfway means you get feedback quickly and you potentially have a paying customer if your product is really that good. So at least you start getting some money in. To go out and say you want to raise money on something that is not even proven to be working or not will be difficult. And the time you spend raising money, that startup that raised lots of funds will be launched already and they will take a customer. So in these three examples, the three options you gave, I would definitely go for launch halfway. Worst case scenario is people say, oh, it's not a great product, but you get feedback to make it better. And hopefully it's a good product. You might not be able to do marketing, but organically, if you can get people using it, you take your time. You're not going to have your 1 million users day one, but your 2 paying customer will go a long way than 0. So
yeah. I think I'll second that. In this case, you also mentioned that a competitor has already launched with millions in seed round. So obviously that means it might be a very good market opportunity. So, obviously if you really believe in your product, then you should launch with what you have now, start getting revenue and users and traction, and then hopefully use that to gain investors' interest down the line. The next question is from Obina. Afternoon, super excited to be part of this meeting. Frankly, I have got issues with filling the investor form in Nigeria as there is nothing to protect your intellectual property. How do we manage this particular issue of IP? This is probably more of a caller or Coyote question.
Actually, I have a good answer for this based on a couple of people that I've spoken to as well. There's this idea that people will steal your idea. Like, I'm actually super against that because it's not your idea. No offense. Like, any idea that you have is because some people are suffering that problem. So any of those people potentially could be thinking of solutions. It's just that they're not communicating to you or it's not on Google. Now, if you agree that that's or if you agree on that statement, the next question is, how do you solve the problem? Again, we're all different. We have different logical, different experience, different skill sets. And so for you to say, I'm solving my problem this way, it means it's based on what you're exposed to or what you've learned or what you know. That's not going to be the same for every single person. Now, the third one is assuming two people have exactly the same way of solving a problem. You still have to execute. So if you have an investor that is a true investor, they're spending their time raising money so they can invest. I don't think they have the time to go and create something and build it. Okay, another scenario is, let's say that investor has a portfolio of other companies that potentially they could use your idea to do something within their own solution. Now that's the risk, but that's where you come in with your own due diligence. So you need to go behind the scene, look at the company, who are the portfolio company they have, is there any competition in there? So if there is a case of someone is doing something similar or that could do something similar, when you pitch to them, you pitch in a way that's so high level that they still have to go and find a way to solve it. So no one is taking your solution. But if it's about idea and someone's taking your idea, I think you just need to forget that. That's not an IP. Idea is an idea. Until when you create a product, whether it's patented product or not, that's when you have an IP. Idea is an IP.
Yeah.
That would be my answer.
So I think I'll second that. I'm not too close to the ecosystem in Nigeria, but most of the real type of solutions that you have that would mean you having a patent or IP and all that sort of like deep tech kind of stuff. A true investor is not going to be copying that, right? So imagine if you needed IP protection for something, and it means that there's some deep sort of insight and scientific background or whatever to the problem that you're solving. And an investor should spend his time, like Tony said, raising money and giving entrepreneurs money so he can make his money back. So he shouldn't spend his time building businesses. But if it's something generic like real estate or whatever, obviously if you go and meet someone and say, there's this beautiful land opportunity, it's going to grow because I know that people are going to move into this area, or something is happening to the government and they're going to people are going to start moving to this area, and you tell someone that is a real estate investor, obviously you can run with that idea and he has more fun. So if it's that kind of stuff, then yeah, but those are not IP type stuff. So IP is like, how do you start a Triva Greek, for example, right? Anyone can do it. They have competitors, but I mean, they're executing, right? So would an investor start his own Triva Greek? Those are the, I don't think good investors will, you need to worry about IP. What is your opinion? Next question. What in your opinion is the most important to consider before taking the entrepreneurship leap? The idea or the team? I would answer this myself personally. Tony might have a different view. I think it's the idea, because most often than not, you don't even have a team in place, right? So if the opportunity is big enough and the problem you're solving is huge enough, then the idea matters, and then building a team and solving it with that team comes afterwards. So I think personally, the most important would be the idea, not the team, in the stage that you want to leave your job to start it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I will say 90% I agree. So the idea is very important, but the reason why I won't completely agree with the idea is your idea is actually going to change over time. So the idea that you're quitting your job for might not be the one you actually end up having, because when you start building your solution, when you're talking to clients, you're talking to other competitions, or you see what's in the market, your idea changes over time, or the way you build your product will change. The idea might not change. Like for us, we want to solve FX and payment problem. That's the idea. But the way we've gone to execute it has changed a lot because we've seen different methodology, we've seen things that we could have done, but there's regulatory constraint along the way. So that makes your solution will change. So yes, idea is important, but the team for me is super important as well. And team, I will argue that one person is still a team in a way of startup, because if you are not the one to solve the problem that you want to solve as a person, doesn't matter how great your idea is, like you're not gonna be able to execute. So if you happen to find a good co-founder, like me and Ola, I believe we're super complementary founders, then it's even better, because that way when you go through your troughs and ups and downs and things like that, there's someone else to step in, someone else that understands that have being someone else on the table. So it's almost like I'm on the fence, like both. But I would say it depends on what you're looking at. Idea is great, execution is more important. Team is important because that's the only thing that can solve your idea. So yeah.
Okay. So the next question is from Coyote. How do you figure out if you are called out for entrepreneurship or not? This is one of those questions like, oh, how do you figure out a good dad or something, right? You can only answer personally. So my personal thing is I was a distracted employee, so I had some good jobs. I'll do well in the interview. I'll get into the job. I'll do very well in the job, but I was super distracted, right? And, and half the time I was always looking for something to do. I had side hustles. I was always looking to make a buck here and there. And so in reality, maybe I was just called out for entrepreneurship, right? So that's my own personal view. So you sort of know if you are. If you have a job, you're doing very well in the job, you're being promoted every year, everyone says you're a superstar, you're enjoying what you're doing, you go to work, you're fulfilled, you're passionate about your work, then obviously you're not called out to be an entrepreneur, right? Because that job is working out for you. But if you're going to work and then, you're doing it half-heartedly, opportunities are elsewhere, your passion lays elsewhere, then I would maybe surmise that maybe you're more of an entrepreneur. And then being an entrepreneur I was going to say one thing, being an entrepreneur is not an excuse for laziness. Because a lot of people are not good employees and they feel that they'll be good entrepreneurs just because, and honestly, it's just that they might not even have the right work ethic, right? And it's going to show if you're an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship is hard work as well.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the two things that I would say to that is I was always very impatient, and I'm still an impatient person. And it's impatient in the sense that even when I was working, everyone else around me is too slow when it comes to education. If I'm working on a project, because I'm excited about on the project, I'm doing my work beyond the 9 to 5. And I'm going to meeting next day, excited about, hey, let's move to the next step. And you have people that just want to talk in meeting. They will tell you how great an idea they have. Come back 2 weeks later, it's still the idea. So I always get that frustration, but it wasn't interpreted from day one when I was younger that, oh, I should be an entrepreneur. That wasn't the case. It was only after I started getting older and I noticed that I love money at the same time. So loving money for me means, as much as I love my job, I wasn't satisfied because I wanted to make money on the side. That's what I'm doing side also. So if I'm doing side also and spending maybe a quarter of my time on something that I actually enjoy doing and it's bringing me some money, why can't I just do it full time? Maybe it will actually make more money overall. So yeah, for me, if you love money, not deals, not doing deals, if you love money about actually building something to get that money, you probably potentially should be an entrepreneur, because you have to create something to get that money into your bank. No one's going to give you money. So not people that are making deals, like deals is different. That's just contract, my work might not work out. But if you have to build something to sell or to get money in return, I would say that's one of the maybe way to,
All right, the next question is from Obina. So I'm conscious of time, so I'll try and be very quick with the answers to these questions as well. So Obina would like to say something about IP if given permission, even though for 3 minutes. So I'll leave that to Coyote at the end of this, if you can allow Obina to speak, or if you can just send us something on the chat. The next question is from Solomon. Is it possible for an introvert to succeed at entrepreneurship? Personally, I struggled with building a team and getting people to connect with my idea. I'm just trying to be short. My short answer to that is yes. I would say, for all intents and purposes, Mark Zuckerberg is an introvert, and obviously he succeeded as an entrepreneur. So there's, Bill Gates as well. So a lot of these guys are introverts, especially when it comes to the tech space. Larry Page at Google, so it's very possible. If you're struggling with building a team and getting people to connect with your idea, then that could be something else. Maybe you need a mentor or you need a co-founder who is more charismatic, but there's nothing wrong with being an introvert and, succeeding at entrepreneurship.
Yeah, simple. Yes, introvert definitely will be successful. In terms of be able to build team, I think that's probably more personality. Where are you trying to sell your idea every time you want to build a team, or you actually just trying to relate to that person? Because people you want to work with someone that you like working with, you enjoy time with. Then when the idea comes in, it's a lot easier for me to listen to things I don't like about you. Whether, for example, you have a way of solving your problem, I might have a different way. As a co-founder, we have to argue about that. If I can't understand you as a friend, I won't even spend time to would you have that conversation? So I think maybe look at it from a different way, which is not building a team, just building a relationship with people and see whether that is a lot better than, yeah.
Okay. And the next question from Kelvin, I think it's more of a statement. Thanks for the clarification. Execution is key. While an idea can be evenly distributed, no two businesses will execute their solution alike. So that was more of a statement. Thanks for that, Kelvin. The next question is from Joy. Two questions, actually. First, when should one throw in the towel, admit that it is not working? And should an employee save up some money first before embarking on an entrepreneurial journey? So when should you throw in the towel? I mean, a lot of people view this different ways because there's so many ups and downs in entrepreneurship. You can choose to throw in the towel every day. So I honestly, that's not a question I can answer. I think maybe at some point the universe will tell you your idea is not working. Maybe you've been doing something for 12 months. There's no traction. There's no resolution. There's no revenue. There's nothing. But I honestly, it's not something I can surmise on. Should you save some money first before embarking on an entrepreneurial journey? I think we sort of alluded to that earlier. Always good to have, be very wise financially before you take this plunge, because it can take a lot more from you than you think. So my personal answer to that would be yes, but obviously you shouldn't be waiting 5 years to save up before you start a business, because, someone else will start the same business and will move on, right?
Yeah. Quick answer. First question, I would say never throw the towel if you really believe in yourself. I'm not trying to inspire, but the idea is that you have an idea can be pivoted. So the moment you know it's not working, you just have to be honest. There's a chance that you're just solving it differently, or you are targeting different markets or different audience. True analysis will show you what you're not doing well. And if your idea or your journey is to be an entrepreneur, all you're doing is pivoting. It's not throwing the towel. So you should be ready to pivot every time. And that's your solution or the idea. An idea could be great, but if you're not going to be the best person to solve it, it's unfortunate. Pivot to something that you can solve. Second answer, I'll already answer. I think that's good. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. We'll answer two more, and then that should just put us up in terms of timing. So from Isaac, thanks for this rich forum. I'm co-founder of a startup actively working to solve a critical problem in Africa. However, myself and my co-founder know nothing about coding. For this reason, we've spent so much on developers, yet the product isn't considered good enough by us. What would you advise we do? So Tony's a technical one, so I'll leave him to answer that.
The easiest thing to do is you need to find a co-founder that understands tech. And the understanding of technology or tech-savvy person, I think a lot of people just alluded to being able to code. No, you don't need to be able to code. You just need to understand, like, if someone is talking to you and they're chatting rubbish, you will know. So what that means is, if you never built a product before and you know what the end product should look like, it means that you can do a reverse engineer of what are the things that must be in place for me to build this product. It's like a manufacturer. You don't just build something, you know what are the materials that you need to put together to get the end product. So I think that's as far as you need to be good at. So what that means is when you're talking to developers, because remember developers are just, I call them order taker. Like you tell them what to do, they will do it. But there's always a loss in translation. Now imagine if you don't even know what you want them to do. Just like, I've got this great idea, I want a platform that people can make money. There's so many ways people can make money, and that will be something that I think makes sense. And you're just a job for me. I don't have passion. I don't care about the solution. I just want to get paid. So I would say either you find someone that's good at doing that, or you need to learn how to build products on whether theoretically or in real practical sense. And when you want a solution, just think properly. What is the end product what I want to build? How does it really work? Then reverse that engineer into the a process flow, which is I do this, this happen. I do this, this happen. Give it to any developer that actually is smart enough. They will give you what you want. UI UX is fancy. You can get a designer to give you more usability that will be much better than maybe what it looks like. But the functionality has to work, and that means you need to understand your product yourself.
Okay. So we'll take this as the last question, just because of time, and then we'll see if Kayode can allow Obina to talk about the IP question he had. So from Kazim, is there a book you can recommend that can truly help in determining if someone is cut out for entrepreneurship? Personally, I would recommend Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, because, I mean, for me, it's one of those books that just tells you what entrepreneurship really is like. So the ups and downs. So Phil Knight is the founder of Nike, and we all know how big Nike is and how successful Nike is. But Shoe Dog traces the journey from when Nike was literally him going to Japan to speak to suppliers about creating a running shoe to the sort of big American corporation it is now, and all the journeys in between. And the good thing about that book is also Phil Knight actually is an accountant. So he used to work at, I think, maybe KPMG or Ernst & Young. So he basically was a CPA. So he was in full-time employment, and he had a side hustle, which is to sell running shoes that he got from Japan. And, and that became Nike. So Shoe Dog for me is probably, in my opinion, the best book about entrepreneurship.
Well, that's definitely a good one. I would say in terms of actually doing stuff, you should read like Lean Startup, because it just make your life easier, not to complicate things, and especially someone that haven't worked in that environment before. If it's about something that shows you how someone else has built this or their successful startup and the things that they go through, I would say Ben Horowitz, The Art Things About Art Things. I think the detailed analysis of things that he actually did really wrong and explaining why he did it and how they potentially just got out of it by being lucky as well, I think it is a good way to kind of look at that. What you do, you might do everything right and you still fail. That's nothing to do with you. So those are the two books I recommend. Okay,
so 3 books from us. One, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. The other, Lean Startup by Eric Ries. And then the third is The Hard Things About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. And, that's it from us. We'll very, very great, obviously engaging with everyone on the webinar. Super good questions as well. And thanks a lot for Ola, Kayode and the Ventures platform team for organizing.
Yeah. Thanks guys for some of the questions are really good. So thanks for the questions. Obviously Ventures platform, amazing idea to have this. So thank you as well. Obviously Kayode and Ola.
And then, it seems a lot of entrepreneurs are here or whatever. If you want to be sending dollars to China or Taiwan, they're paying somebody in Ukraine to build your website or stuff, please check out Vertofx. We're here for entrepreneurs. We want people that have Naira to be able to convert it to any currency in the world and pay people anywhere in the world. And that's what we do at Verto. So please check us out.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Ola. Thank you so much, Anthony. It was great having both of you on this webinar. Again, to follow Vertofx, their Twitter handle is simply at Vertofx. So please follow them on Twitter. I was going to ask both of you how, if some of those people want to reach you, how best can they reach you? Twitter, Facebook, what medium?
Well, Ola is not on any of those, so you can forget about that. I think for Twitter is probably the best because the Android Vertofx, we are not only the one looking at it, so our employees look here as well. So if there's any direct question on that, on Vertofx, we'll pick it up, especially if it's a DM. Other than that, is mostly LinkedIn for me. I don't really respond to anything on Instagram.
So what's your full name on LinkedIn so people could just look you up?
I don't give away. No, I'm joking. It's just Anthony Oduwole.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's probably LinkedIn. Just Ola Oyetayo, and you see Vertofx, and that's the best way to contact me. And then obviously we have our Twitter handle. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook as well. And as a company, Verto is also on LinkedIn, so you can reach out to us on those channels as well.
Okay, thanks, Ola. Thanks, Anthony. So yeah, so there you have it. You can reach out to them, Twitter, LinkedIn. And if you want to reach out to Ventures Platform on Twitter, it's VP_fund. So you can reach out to Ventures Platform or you can reach out to me directly on Twitter or call her, We're always happy to answer any questions you might have. And interestingly, if there's any, I see from the list there are a bunch of people working in banks and consulting companies. If there's anybody remotely trying to build anything, right? You're currently testing out this interesting idea. You're thinking of quitting your job. We'll be happy to help you walk through that process, right? So if you have an idea you're working with and you need a sounding board, feel free to send me an email at coyote@venturesplatform.com. And in the email, within the email, just briefly explain what you're doing and what you need help with, right? And I'll be happy to respond to your email. And if possible, jump on a call to discuss it with you, right? I can see Ola typing out the name of the books. I'm just also going to type out my email on the chat box, and hopefully I should be able to.
Can I just say one thing quickly?
Yes, please.
Like, we're actually looking to build a team in Nigeria. So if any of you have interest or you think you'd be the right fit, please reach out to VP or directly to us. We will be happy to have a conversation. So it might be one way.
You don't want them to be entrepreneurs.
Sorry?
You don't want them to be entrepreneurs.
No. Like, you can make it, you can learn from other people's mistakes, right? So if you're still in the process of quitting your corporate job at UBA or wherever, you must well do with a startup that you can see all the stuff that doesn't work that we have to go through. So, and then you go out and build your own stuff.
I 100% agree. That's a great way to get into entrepreneurship. I mean, if you look at a bunch of interesting companies, what you then see is that a lot of their early employees eventually go in to start new companies because they get like that first-hand, real-time, battle-tested experience with building companies from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay, great. It was great having both of you on the webinar. And definitely we'll look forward to the interesting things you're building with Vertofx. Thanks everyone for joining the call. Unfortunately, we can't take the question from Obina. However, you can send an email and we should be able to respond to your email around IP. Thanks everyone, and thanks to our guests once again, and do have a great evening.
Thanks guys, very helpful.
Thank you guys. Cheers.
Yeah, I wasn't